Mixed dancing before Mashiach? That sounds pretty radical. Okay, I've done myself now. Mixed dancing? I heard something actually slightly different, but along these lines, about 25 years ago from a friend who was instrumental in bringing me close to orthodoxy, because I didn't grow up this way. And he sort of suggested something along these lines. Good morning, Yosef. Good morning, Ruben. So yeah, he suggested something along these lines, actually more dramatic. So that's why I think it resonates here a bit if he's right. But the 15th of Av is coming up, and I'm always like a little bit ahead of my time, right? Because I have to write about things in advance. You know, that's the new editorial policy. So I'm already out. I'm already having the geula of Chamisha Sar B'Av, when the dead in the desert stopped dying. Those who were dying, rather, in the desert stopped. One of the things, there's like 5 things that happened on that day, but just, I want to learn the Mishnah with you in Tainus 4:8, okay? It will describe a festival that was based around finding a Besherter, your soulmate. It's a beautiful holiday in our religion. And I don't know if many people, I don't know how much it resonates with them. The world has a very superficial day that celebrates this concept, right, in the winter time, February, I think, 22nd, no, I don't know. So it's something that's celebrated in our culture. How does Judaism celebrate it? What is it about? What does it look like? And what is it going to look like when Mashiach comes? Because, thank you for all those likes. What is it going to look like then? Because I have a source that tells you. And it's awesome. But it's going to underlie or express a difference of opinion between 2 major schools of thought. The philosophy movement in Judaism, like Rambam, for example, and the Ramban, who was on the boring. Okay, you're right, it's boring. Okay, well, let's get into it then. Forget it. You won't. You're not interested in the philosophy behind it. There's the difference between the philosophy school and the Kabbalah school of thought, and I think it's fascinating. You find that boring? I don't know what kind of person you are. I find that absolutely fascinating. One says it's all about spiritual, and the other says it's all about physical. And how do you resolve the two? I came up with a way today. I think this is the way the Chassidus answers it, but maybe it's in slightly different language. How I'm going to resolve that they both can exist at the same time. We'll see a beautiful yin-yang that is expressed in the most graphic way. An actual yin-yang. But it's a bit complicated to articulate in one sentence. You got to look into it a bit. Because they danced on the Chamisha Sar B'Av. They danced in machel, in a circle dance. And it means something, because they were all pointing to God. Where was God? Beinehem. He was at their core. God is that's the way it's going to be, rather. It's the future tense. Or it's happening now. It's unfolding now. We're getting the ability to appreciate it now more than ever in history. So we're all going to be pointing to God. It's not polite to point, is it? The Rebbe doesn't point. The Rebbe just motions with his hands like this. We're going to have a point. So what does that mean? It doesn't mean we're going to do something that's offensive. You know, there's other hand gestures. Reasons to smile is right. Good morning. So if it's rude to point, why do we point at God? It's a bit offensive to have someone stick a finger at you. That's offensive in some way, but it's not. It's not. It's actually the opposite. We'll see if we get that far. Still a bit early. So hang in there, those who are bored. Right? Munchie Mummy. No, that wasn't Munchie Mummy. Who said that, was it? No, Ingang Madalu, rather. Good morning. Okay. So, the Mishnah in Tainus tells you like this. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel said there was no days of joy amongst the Jewish people greater than the 15th of Av and Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur? Is that your favorite day of the year? You look forward to that all year? Lo hayo yamim tayvim l'Yisrael chamisha asar ba'av v'ki Yom HaKippurim, the 15th of Av. And Yom Kippur, it has to do with the luchos. We got a really incredible gift. We got the luchos achronis, the latter tablets, the tablets that lasted through time. Well, they both exist through time, in a different way though. So what would happen on these days? On these days, why was it such a great day? Because on those days, the 15th of Av, which is coming up in a week, I guess, I don't know. No, a bit more than a week. I don't know, 9-10 days. They would go out and dressed in white. The B'nai Yerushalayim. Not so as not to embarrass those who don't have, they would all borrow from each other. The daughters of Jerusalem came out and danced in the vineyards. Okay? And if you think that it was just a private dance, the Mishnah corrects that false assumption. What would they say, these girls? Young man, lift up your eyes. Be elevated and see what you choose for yourself. Siri just went wild. Sorry. Lift up your eyes. When you lift up your eyes, remember that idea resonates when the copper snake that Moses made. We speak about that. Lifting up your eyes. Lift up your eyes and see what you choose for yourself. Do not set your eyes on beauty, but set your eyes on the family. Okay, the Rebbe has a sikh on this that I'm not going to get into right now, but he goes through all of these lines. Grace is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman that fears the Lord, she shall be praised, okay? The Rebbe speaks about it. It's beautiful. It has so many layers that I don't have time for it today because I want to talk about the dance itself. This is what they said. So you could see what their mission was. Their mission was to go out, look attractive, not embarrass anyone, have unity amongst them, not competitiveness. On the contrary, the opposite. In fact, that's when you have union. When you include the other, that's why before Shemana Esrei, you have to have the idea of union, and especially before you start davening. Nachon lamar kodim tefillah. You have to love your fellows yourself. We take that before we daven. So the idea of a union. So this is good morning. So this is like a shidduch. They're trying to make a shidduch for the purpose of a union. And it further says, give her of the fruit of her hand. So it's about a productive relationship, and let her works praise her in the gates. The gates is a beautiful idea. Neida b'sharim baila. Shari means whatever you can appreciate God, that's how much you're going to know God. The idea of knowledge here means to experience, and we're going to see this comes out later in the conversation. It becomes very important to understand what da'as means. It means experience, living something, not just reading about something, for example. And there, when that happens, when can you be in the moment and really experience something? Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. I think it's through the dance. We'll see. Okay? So it goes on to say, maidens of Zion, go forth and gaze upon King Solomon, which refers to God, as the commentaries say, wearing the crown that his mother gave him. That refers to the Jewish people, as we've spoken about, and I think I have some sources here. Oh, by the way, the sources are listed there, so just click on them, because I'm getting into them now, and I want you to be able to follow along if you have that opportunity available to you. So the mother gave God a crown on the wedding day, on the day of the gladness of the heart. And this wedding day refers to Matan Torah, when the giving of the Torah. And on the day of the gladness of his heart, this refers to the building. I'm crazy taking phone calls. This refers to the building of the holy temple. May it be rebuilt speedily in our days. Amen. Okay, Bartanura. Okay, I'm gonna skip the literal commentaries, because they're up there. You're gonna have to learn them yourself, I think. Okay, some of the things I've said already. So we're just moving through the Bartanuras here. As to samech basula b'malcha, when it says they're gonna go out, yetzes b'cheles, they go out with cheles. What are those, tambourines? As to Samach Basula b'Machel. Then the Basula, and we'll see what that means, okay? We're going to have a philosophy of what that means, the Basula, the virgin. She goes out b'Machel in a circle dance. And we're going to see what the circle dance means, especially in the future to come, when it describes a dance that God's going to make for us. It's incredible. Stay tuned. So, okay, it tells you how you learn that Melech Shlomo Solomon refers to God because of Shalom Shalai, the peace is unto him. The word Shlomo Solomon means peace. God's peace. Shlomo Shalai. Shalom Shalai. Then it says on Imai Knesset Yisrael. Okay, there's my proof. But Yom Kippur, right? She's Chanukah Yom Kippur. The Binyan Beis HaMikdash was inaugurated on Yom Kippur. So there's a relation here between. That's why it's explaining why the Luchos Achronis, the ladder, the second set of tablets. So now we quoted a verse about As to Samach Basula, then the virgin will rejoice. Okay, it's a pasuk in Yirmiyahu 31:13. Just want to remind you of the context of the period, if we can find it. Okay, we'll just go on. So it says Metzudas David, they're going to be young and old together. Everyone's going to be there. Good morning. Everyone's going to be there. L'reiv hasimcha, because of the great rejoicing, everyone's going to be there. The elders are going to be inspired to be youthful, like the youths among them, because they're going to be mixed multitude of people. So that they too can participate. They are going to be inspired to this healthy youthfulness. Remember, in the future to come, when at the resurrection of the dead, people are going to be born with their illnesses. I mean, not reborn, rather, or reincarnated, or resurrected, rather. Created anew. Remember, we talk about the petri dish of primordial soup that we spoke about that another time. That's how it's going to happen, through a primordial soup of like DNA, it looks like. That everyone's going to join in this, okay? Now the Metzudas David is these are commentaries on the verse in Yirmiyahu, okay? Because it quoted this verse about As to Samach Basula b'Machel, the virgin is going to rejoice in this circle dance, and Bachrim is Kain Yachtav. There's going to be men and elders, like boys, elders, all ages, men and women, with the basulas. And he's going to transform their mourning to rejoicing. I will comfort them and cheer them in their grief, or cheer them up, rather, I should say, in their grief. Cheer means to like say rah rah, but maybe that's how it's going to happen. If you see the way it's going to be described in this source that I have, it looks a lot like that, like cheering on each other, like it's an incredible celebration that you can't imagine. But with this, we're going to try to imagine, but it's going to bring up a contradiction, which I think we can resolve pretty easily through classic Hasidic ideas, like the way they deal with these problems. As we'll get into it. Okay, I'm going to move a bit faster now, I think, just to get into the part that I'm like excited to speak about, mainly. So they're going to rejoice coming out of their misery, right? Whatever suffering people have gone through, the rejoicing that's going to be forevermore is going to be more than that. They're going to feel consoled from it. The Malbim, okay, I love to look at the Malbim. And then we're going to get into Medrash Shema very briefly, and then the Ber Agela, which is what I wanted to get to. The Malbim, I just like to give him the kavod because he's really inspired me. It's an incredible interpretation. As Bachurim is Kanim Yisamchu Yacht, they're going to be all together. B'Shava, everyone's going to be equal. Laikama Babinim Bai Sheni, Shez Kanim Bachu Bechi Godel. At the building of the second holy temple, the elders cried out horribly, Kiniz Kru Bakavad Abayas Arishan, because they had a role in the honor of the first holy temple, but they didn't have it in the second, it seems. So their external presentation of their mourning is going to be transformed into joy, because they're going to participate, even the elders who had suffered in the past. not being able to participate. Now they're going to be inspired to youthfulness to be able to rejoice in this whole celebration, which we see a connection between Yom Kippur, which has to do with the temple, the Holy Temple, and this celebration where it's going to be mixed with all ages openly. And everyone, okay, then it's going to go the way it's going to be with Mashiach. We're going to get to that in a bit. How is that going to be expressed in times of Mashiach? And it seems to be an ongoing state that you're going to enter in, this dance, this incredible dance that you'll see the way it looks. Try and envision it, okay? And see if it's going to match up the way he clearly illustrates it, very clearly. There's a way to express joy outwardly that's very superficial by wearing celebratory clothes like Big Day Yom Tov, okay? Clothes that you buy for celebration the holidays. God's going to console us and dress us in, it seems to say here, in the opposite of our mourning garments of the past. He's going to dress us up in glory and heal all of our pain. The simachtim simchas alev. Now this becomes very important. It's going to be a heartfelt rejoicing miyagainim from their suffering. Shahayalehem ba'avar, that they had in the past. Shekol sheyizkru hayagan ha'avar tigadol simcha ata. To whatever extent you recall and contrast rather, the suffering of the past, the trauma that we find ourselves immersed in, when we break out of that, to whatever extent we were in that, the freedom that comes, I'm going to show you a source that's very clear about this idea. Okay, you're going out of the trauma, or maybe this is the source. No, I have another source that says that the Yeshua, a salvation, means the same, basically the same idea expressed. Okay, now Medrash Tanchuma, we'll do this quick. Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu ba'olam hazeh nitztarim al tzadik be'evlei shivas yamim. When a person, lo aleinu, God forbid, dies, the mourning period is 7 days. Lasted love, hafachti avim lasalsim nechamtim v'simachtim v'yogainam. How many days? It doesn't say how many days, but it says that in the future to come, in the world to come, I will turn their mourning into joy, and I will comfort them and make them rejoice from their sorrow. And I will comfort Zion in its vast places, as it said, the Lord hath comforted Zion. He hath comforted all her waste places and made her wilderness like Eden. We're going to see that the Ber Gela goes on this idea of Eden here. So he's actually taking this idea from the Medrash. Okay, and he puts the philosophical understanding. What does it mean to be in Gan Eden? To him, it's a mostly spiritual, which to him means perfect experience. We're going to see that that's a certain perspective. And we're going to see that, in a sense, the opposite is true. It's going to be physical. The most physical form of dance. He has dance. We're going to see this in a second, right? He has dance as a mashal, mostly. It's an expression of going beyond your anxiety. You're going to see it's in almost perfectly clear terms to say that. Once you get out of your anxiety, you're dancing through life, and that's the virgin. You're going to see that that's the idea of a virgin, but also in a more philosophical way. The virgin means it's never been like this. When you fully appreciate what kind of dance we're talking about, that it's also going to be physical, and I think he's alluding to this, but he might not really have intended that, but I think he is. That ultimately, it's going to be expressed in the physical dance mostly. The perfection, however you see that. The world itself will be perfected. I don't know if he exactly wants to articulate that. You're going to be the judge, but ultimately I'm going to anyways find a way to resolve it. And a desert like the garden of God, with God's help. The desert like the garden of the Lord, joy and gladness shall be found therein, thanksgiving in the voice of melody. That's a pasuk in Isaiah 51:3. Okay, now the Ber Agela. This is what I wanted to get to. It's very long. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I'm going to start at the beginning and go through the words. I would color in this whole book for this Ber Hagela. And then I want to give it a Hasidic twist to it that I think resonates when you consider there's two perspectives. Can anyone type what the two perspectives are? I tell you this every day. Please, do me a favor. What are the two perspectives? What is the whole world? I keep saying this every day. Come on. I got 4 people. Someone can be typing. Well, maybe if you're all driving, then forget it. Don't type if you're driving. So, he brings a Gemara Tainus. I'm a Rabbi Eliezer. Good morning. In the future to come, God is going to make a machal, a dance, a circle dance in particular, l'tzadikim, we're going to Eden. In the Garden of Eden, what are we going to do? We're going to dance. God's going to make us a dance, a ball, a party. Maybe it's going to be in the orchard, right? The Gan Eden. I don't know. How do you envision this? Is it indoors or outdoors? It's going to have everything. Achashverosh had it outdoors, indoors. You know, the king, Misha, Achrein V'Reish Shalai, or Rishon V'Achrein Shalai. What do we say about Achashverosh? It's talking about Hashem. So, can everyone hear? Because someone told me that I'm using these things. I don't know if you could hear as well as before. So let me know if that's a problem, and I'll take them out, I guess. Okay, so in the future, God's going to make a machal tzadikim. Now, I think it's very significant. It says for the tzadikim, because you're going to see later a different perspective, and I think that's the key. Here it says he's going to make a machal tzadikim. That's the words in Gemara Tainus. God's going to make it for the tzadikim. He's going to say it's not for the tzadikim. What is he talking about? That's what the Gemara says. He's going to say it's not for the tzadikim, it's for God. And he brings a proof. It's amazing. But I'm going to resolve that for you, God willing, with a classic Hasidic approach. He's going to make this dance for the tzaddikim. And guess where God's going to be? He's going to be sitting among them. They're going to be dancing, and he's going to be on a lawn chair. Why does he have to be in a lawn chair? It's important. It's not by fluke. Everything that it says is exact for a reason. Okay, that's why the Torah is so rich and incredible, and it's the ultimate journey. People who like to explore amazing, beautiful, natural phenomenon and nature itself, that's a beauty and an adventure. And it's very tangible. Is that where we're going to be directed, where our attention is going to be directed? Or God, or some kind of yin-yang of the two? Where is your journey in life? Is it in sightseeing and like being in spectacular sights and traveling and seeing incredible things that I love to post pictures about? Or is it going to be more philosophical and devotional, emotional connection to God? Or the two combined somehow or interwoven? I think we're going to get to that here. So God is going to make for the tzaddikim, the righteous. We'll see why specifically tzaddikim. It has to do with cause and effect. If you're going to be a Rasha, you're going to live a certain way, then you're not going to experience the way. Okay, this is a very classic Musar idea. I don't like to point fingers. I like to translate Rishoyim as trauma victims. I know people don't like to be so apologetic of others, but I think God is. I think God finds favor in people, and we should do the same. So Rishoyim I translate as trauma victims. And God is going to take each person out of the hand. The idea of Kol Echad Ve'Echad Yisrael, Ve'atem Telekutu Kol Echad Ve'Echad Yisrael, or something like that. God is going to gather every single person by the hand. It says Kol Echad Ve'Echad. That idea of Kol Echad Ve'Echad will resonate here also. So I want you to have that image in mind. I think right here. Okay? Ve'hu Yeshe B'neim, Kol Echad Ve'Echad. The same expression here. Mare Lav Betz Boy. There's going to be a connection here with the hand, and now we're talking about the finger. So God's reaching out to us with the hand. He schleps us out because it's going two ways. You'll see this is the answer to this. This is a two-way relationship. You could talk about one experience and the other experience separate or integrated somehow. Now we're talking about it separate. The kol echad ve'echad, and having that relationship. So there's an olam. There's God and you. That's it. That's why we specify the individual always. But every person is going to point with his finger. Mara Elav to God. Point his finger to God. That's boy with his finger. Which we don't do. The Rebbe doesn't point. So what does it mean? He's going to save us. We're pointing and saying, is that this? There's an aspect of attention directed to a certain focal point, like a bullseye here. You get the idea of a bullseye? And you'll get what this is about. But even better, spokes of a bicycle wheel. You'll see that that's what's happening here. But that is like a philosophical illustration of this idea of where your attention's directed and who exists. There's a kav, there's a line out spraying forth or shooting forth like a ray from the center, the seminal point in the center, which is God, sitting amongst everyone while everyone's dancing around, dancing through life. And in mixed dancing specifically, okay, which means there's no boundaries at that point. Everything's appropriate because we're going to only know only the desire to serve God. Our bodies are going to be purified, or in this process of purification, because you'll see that this dance is actually a purification process that refines our bodies, takes us out of our anxiety. We'll say that explicitly here if we have time. Please, God. And this is what you hint to. This is what it's talking about when you point with your finger. You say, behold, zehu davar yetzim min das. It has to do with connection, experience. Remember, I introduced this idea about das. Shetei b'makom kedusha. And where is your das? This is the Be'er HaGolas Shita here. It becomes a major theme in this teaching. That is, you are transcending. And I want you to put this in context. What it means to transcend the physical here in this way, because that's what he's going to talk about. And he says the key to that is das, which means focus, mindfulness, all these modern terms. And where should your focus be in Kedusha? So his Shita is, Sha'ilim haba nivdal min agashmias. According to the Jewish philosophy, good morning, Jody Hiltz, the idea, the philosophers in Torah want to talk about transcending physicality. It doesn't have to mean that there's no physical, even though it's going to seem like he's saying that exactly. Why? I'm going to give away the answer a little bit here, okay? Because I want you to start getting your mind rolling about the idea until I can really express it. You have a circumference and you have a dot in the middle. You have a hub. You have everyone pointing. You have this incredible sun just radiating, glowing into the world, and like some magnificent wall of fire around it. Remember we spoke about that, and that had the same image. That resonates 100% with this, the idea of a wall of fire around Jerusalem, and the Jerusalem itself is a Shekhinah. So it just happens to extend as far as the perimeter. But it comes from the center and the core of the base of Mikdash, okay? All these ideas are creating a visual image of a spoked wheel. A bullseye. Okay, so from our perspective, we're from the outside. God creates us every moment, and he'll continue to create us, at least for like 1,000 years. Then it goes on to something else, beyond, completely beyond, and I'm not going to get into that right now, because I have to think about that at length. Some kind of unity that totally transcends the whole journey. Okay, I don't know what that is. I don't understand that. I think it's a darga. It's a level to have the Ratzon Shei from, knowing that that is the ultimate. The ultimate is total surrender. Total surrender. So just knowing there's such a concept after the Elef HaShvi, the 7th millennium, I think that's enough to allow a person to delve into that and have this rhythm that I think is sort of eternal. It's the whole experience of life, that 50,000 Yavlis or whatever the world's going to... It's a rhythm. So at a certain primordial level, there's only unity, and there won't be no physical world in a sense. So right, that also... But I'm saying it doesn't have to actually happen ever. 50,000 Yavlis, maybe, I don't know, this is my own guess. It could mean eternity. And this, after the Elef, because it seems to contradict itself, 50,000 times 50, how many years is that? That's more than 7,000, isn't it? I don't know, someone do the math. Anyways, let's stop talking about that. And, okay, get back to this idea, the two perspectives. From our perspective, God creates us, so we're on the outside of a circle. Looking in, pointing, everything of us is directed to the center, which is God. God's in the middle of this dance. And he's on the launch here specifically because he doesn't have to move. He shines out to us. He just gazes at us, reaches out to us, taking each of us by the hand. He reaches out also, but he's sitting in the center. He can't move because he has connection to everyone. He's moving. I'm not saying he's not dynamic. It's the center of the sun shining forth. Dafka specifically in the center. He's sitting like the sun seems to sit in the sky, but really it's racing across the cosmos from another perspective. Okay, this is the whole idea that I'm trying to say now. There's two ways to look at it. From God's perspective, he creates us all the time. He wants the physical. He wants the dirbat titanium. He wants that. So he's creating us. He's in the center because he's emanating and therefore we're a kav, or a ray that comes from him. That's das elyon, das tachtain. There's two ways to look at it. One's from God's perspective. There's just God, and he wants to create, and he wants to dirba tachtainim. That paradox, okay, that exists right in the very essence. There's a paradox right there. And from our perspective, we just want to recognize God's existence, and God wants to say, I want you to have an experience. So I'm going to continue to create you. So you always exist, and we're always getting closer and closer, ad infinitum, literally. And that's represented by this dance. And then why does it have to be mixed? It has to be mixed because you have to have the idea of a basula. Because the only way you could experience this till al-matchiyah, the ultimate stage, until then, it's only spiritual. This is the way. This is my understanding of this. He's going to say a whole thing. I'll read it to you, but this is the way I understand it. Basula, in the sense that it's never been. There's been moments of we had kedushin, we had the giving of the Torah. We had moments of total unity, where even the physical is expressed godliness. But that's only a foretaste of the ultimate. Okay, in a sense, we're virgins. And the Rebbe has a whole talk about how Torah dictates the actual basulim of a virgin. It's an incredible idea that Torah controls the physicality of the world. I can't get into now, it's a massive topic. But it shows that Torah creates. So in some sense, the center, the Torah, the Kuchabrichu, God's one with his Torah. That's at the center and shining out. So from his perspective, he wants us to exist. He's creating us. He makes the Torah so we should exist, so we can have a loving relationship with God in this dance with God. So you have these two perspectives. From God's perspective, he wants us to be and to get all the pleasure. He's pouring out blessings on us. From us, we're trying to transcend and go to Gan Eden, recognizing that it's all about God and it's not about our physical bodies, because physical represents I'm here and not there. I'm finite. That's what physical represents. So our direction, the philosophy of Judaism, of Torah, teaches us that we're about transcending, because it's about giving ourselves away to God. It's not our physical interest. That's the chesed nu'arayich. That's the beginning of a relationship. Interestingly here, it's also a beginning of a relationship. They go out dancing in the fields. And when is it ultimately expressed in Mashiach? When Mashiach comes, then we're going to have this circle dance. We're all pointing to God. There's a different sense of it, perhaps, in the Chamisha Sar B'Av. Let's see if it comes out here. Or maybe we'll go more into Chamisha Sar B'Av in future days, since we have a lot of time to talk about that. And see how that plays out, how that compares to the dance of Mashiach. Because I think one's the source for the other, but I think one's much more extreme. There's a connection there that's very graphically represented. Okay, when Kabbalah makes that circle and then a ray coming in, it has, my art teacher would always tell me, form has meaning and meaning has form. If you don't know what the form feels like, assume that position with your body, and you will feel that emotion the artist was trying to convey. So do that and see that image and see what it's trying to convey. It's talking about da'as. Da'as means connection. Adam yada es Chava. He knew her. Biblically, he knew her. Okay, so you go out of das. That's why you point with your finger. Your das should go out of what you care about and do it for God. So your direction is everything for you, God. From our perspective, it's all about God. Even says machol tzadikim. That's why there's two perspectives here that I don't even know if he intended to. I don't know if he deals with that issue. I'm trying to deal with it. There's going to be young women in Olam Haba. Because there's going to be a dance for the tzadikim. Here it says la tzadikim again. Now know. This reveals, remember we say ayin lo yirah elokim zul, nobody knows what's going to be in Olam Haba. He's saying with these words, this is given us to tell you a secret. To expose this idea of what's going to be awaiting the great experience the benevolence that God's going to shower upon the tzaddikim. Lastly, by Gan Eden. In Gan Eden, he calls it. It's called Gan Eden from my perspective because we're going to be about giving everything to God. That's the Gan Eden. From Hashem's perspective, it has to be a dirba tachtainim. It has to be Gan Eden in the physical sense. And that's this yin yang. God continually creates us and us trying to continually just pour ourselves into God. It's this tension that God creates at the very core of everything. We spoke about that in terms of jealousy the other day. Here it's appearing in terms of a dance, where you're always at the edge of the circle, but you're always pointed, directed to the center like a bullseye. So there's a distance and there's a connectivity at the same time. That's the yin yang that he's going to describe in the most beautiful terms. I think I've already tried to say it, so I might stop short of actually reading that part because it's towards the end. It was a very wise way that this is alluded to. This is particular, this dance is particularly designed for virgins. Bifrat Kereksiv, as to Samach Basula B'Machel. The pasuk, I think the one that the one we talked about in Yirmiyahu. Then the virgin will rejoice B'Machel B'Churim L'Zkenim, in a mixed dance of people of all ages. And this is, now he gets very contradictory, it seems. This is going to be seen tangibly. Usually that means physically. Doesn't use the word lamamashas, but I think it's the same idea, lachush. So your senses are going to be able to experience this. Chushim, our senses or sensibilities at least. Maybe he means sensibilities, because look what he goes on to say. Kimachuhu lebesula, because the dance is for the besula. Okay, that's not, what does he mean there? I think this is what he means. Because this dance will be an experiential rejoicing, which seems to say physical. So is this an exception to the rule? Are we going to go out from the spiritual Gan Eden to the physical one through this rejoicing? He seems to say that as it goes on. So the virgin experience is that usually you associate Avodas Hashem with spirituality. And here it's going to be Nirabach Lachush in the future to come. But he seems to contradict, so let's go a little bit further. I see there's people still there, I can't believe it, that's awesome. This is very hard stuff. It's not just going to be heartfelt. It's not going to be just be a spiritual emotional. Like you could sit in the Matrix and like have, you could be plugged into a euphoria machine and just whatever you want to design. Just a spiritual, no, you're going to be dancing, you're going to get your body moving. And that actually is the whole impetus for this experience, that it should be physical. The inspiration, remember the inspiration of the elders, because of the youth, that was brought in Nigla sources. That is the idea here. That's what's fueling this. That's why it has to be mixed, because the part of us, that's the old man inside us, has to be awoken and lit up like a fire, like a young man. We're not talking about just heartfelt joy. It's going to be completely manifest. It doesn't say physical here, but I think that's what he at least hinting to at some level. That's why it has to be specifically about virgins. He brings out a different point than I said. I said it's a new experience for the world, that we're going to have this physical. He brings out a different point, and it's all about trauma. And how women can transcend trauma. They have the power, the feminine has the power to transcend trauma. Look at this. Why? Because of something that seems like a lack in them is actually a very great source of strength. Everything has a positive and negative. If you want to be a whiny person and take this, what I call non-classic feminism, which is basically the eradication of femininity, you're just missing a whole yin-yang of a rich life if you do that. It doesn't have to be the woman, okay? You could be a totally radical but there has to be that shleimus always in every person and in every relationship. You always have that for sure. Else, you know what it is? In my opinion, it's a narcissism to see only yourself. That might be insulting to some people. I don't mean to insult you, it's just the way I see it. It's like an underlying narcissism to have that mindset of wanting someone that's identical to you. Maybe. There has to be a balance. But the thing is, because you can never get, there's always a spectrum. Because ein de same shavis. Personalities they always differ. There's always going to be a spectrum. You always create the 10 spheres whenever you're in a relationship. And you have that in yourself also. So the idea is, if you don't like to talk about relationships, if you're single, for example, and you want to focus more on personal integrity, the same idea exists within you. So always hear that, both dimensions. A virgin represents someone who is innocent. They're not ridden with anxiety and trauma. That's how I translate Einan Bailes Machshava. Because in the olden days, people knew what these words meant. They didn't have these ingrained distortions, I think, or at least in a perfect world. It always resonated like that. It was just known. Now it became a topical, it's a topic of discussion. We talk about these things. Because we're sensitive to it now. Because our roles we're automatically compared with the culture which pervades equality. My children speak about equality amongst the sexes and genders, whatever that means. Because I guess they're fluid, right? Ain't a bailis machshava, but a virgin is innocent. Kamay kol ish, whereas a person is not. A person is jaded. An ish is jaded. It doesn't say adam here. Asher hu bal machshava yeser v'yeser. He's trapped in the realm of thought. It's a bit of Leah here. Rachel danced through life more and expressed beauty on all levels. Leah was more cerebral, but an ish is more cerebral. He's trapped he's a bal machshava yeser v'yeser. Kol machshava ma'akev es hasimcha. And what does it do when you're trapped in the realm of thought, of philosophy alone, and you don't have the Ramban and the sheet of Chabad and Chassidus in general? That it's going to be Tchias HaMeisim, it's going to be expressed in the physical world. There's a physical experience beyond just emotional. It's going to be physical also. And specifically there, from God's perspective, if you can't give yourself away and just dance through that, you're riddled in anxiety and trauma, and you cannot live. You are an ish. You're not the basula who just dances through life. Thought is a misnagid, an opposer to joy. Therefore, amongst men, joy is emotional. They're less expressive when it comes to dancing, by nature. Why can't they dance? Why can men not dance? Okay, there's some people in touch with their feminine side. There's Levim who sang and played instruments. They were very expressive. There are men that have the feminine attribute, the Yitzchaks among us. But the classic man, the Ish rather, if you want to talk about an aspect of being a man, the Ish, he's trapped in masculinity, toxic masculinity that makes him riddled with anxiety. He's not the virgin, innocence of the virgin. He's always telling the guy who's writing haikus, cha cha ta ta ti ta ta. He's making fun of it. Cat soup. I don't know, just making up all kinds of ridiculous things. Electric cord, just random ideas and making fun of me. But the person who's not jaded by that cynicism, the sin of being like a cynical, it's an icicle. It's a sin that's an icicle, being cold. Not, expressing your love just by punching. You could have that too. But you can't limit yourself to that. She's not trapped in the anxiety of thought. What does it mean to the tzaddikim we're going to have a dance? It's going to be a dance. It's not just going to be in the heart. Why? And then he makes it spiritual. This is where he says the idea is you're on the outside looking in. Your direction, your bullseye is towards God. So you have to spiritualize it. You cannot remain just at the physical. That's God's perspective. You'll get there too when you melt into God completely. At that point, you're in the Elef Shvi, the 7th millennium. And at the 7th millennium, there's only God. And what does God want? That's the key. If there's only God, there's not going to be a physical world. Why? Because you're not going to experience the physical world. God will be experiencing the physical world. You're going to melt completely into God, and you'll have the infinite experience of the absolute finite, physical. That's what I call Dark Phoenix, but no, I haven't seen the movie. I saw a trailer. It looks so dumb. I cannot believe it got 23% on Rotten Tomatoes. Oh my goodness, what an embarrassment to such a good story. Okay, my 14-year-old dream will never be, at least for the time being. Simkut Tzadikim Hashem. The righteous will rejoice in Hashem. But check out these words. That's why we say God sits among them or between them. They like to Yiddishize, which is like, that's not the way we say it. But among them. But everyone's pointing in. The tzaddikim is not El HaTzaddikim. This is the way he points it. We said he's going to be Machal HaTzaddikim. Now he says, Hasimcha, She'ein Hasimcha El HaTzaddikim Rak Ba'i Sporech. The tzaddikim's pleasure is in God. To please God. We're the ones that are saying, die. Enough, let me be worthy. This is another proof. I've been talking about this for 4 months now. Someone told me that I got it all backwards. And I've been showing proof after proof for 4 months. It's all about you saying die, which means I want to be worthy. And God says, no, I want you to have more. Because you know what? I am the ultimate good. And therefore, any suffering you had, it's going to be yeser v'yeser. That's what we said here in this teaching, right? The good is going to outweigh the bad. And I think it will be infinitely so. Because anything finite, which is the bad, is always finite. It's the world's entrenchment in that world, a mindset of limitation. The Mitzrayim is a finite place. Ervas haaretz. There's a way to deal with Ervas haaretz. There's a way to have that Shabbat Kedusha. That's what we're talking about here. Think about it. That's their joy, to point to God. That's why we're directed completely to God. Because we're giving. It's about giving yourself. So you're going out of the physical. You are, in a sense, going to Gan Eden, the spiritual Gan Eden. But God's saying, no, you're going to have Gan Eden physical too. And you know what? That's the Shittas Chabad, is the way that we paskin. The Rebbe says we paskin. The Chassidus paskin like the Ramban. It's going to be physical. And why is that? Because God wants that. That's why. God wants to. It's the Shittas Chabad on that too. Why God created the world. He wants a dwelling place in the physical world. You could say the other way. There's Zayars, there's other things. It's Rebbe Shab deals with it. I think in Iron Base. Or is it Samach Vav? I'm getting mixed up now. First, Niglav simply Vishuasai. Okay, I just want to read a few more words. It's getting very late. But here's talks about redemption. It goes on and on. It's incredible. It talks about Shleimus of the Adam. That's the Simcha. Oh, how do I resist that? There's a bit more we have to. It's getting late. Okay, you're with me? 5 people? I know it got slow in the beginning. I don't know why. I felt some anxiety. Now I think we're really getting into this a bit more. Well, at least from my perspective, right? We have 2 perspectives. Oh, no, I skipped a few lines. Okay. I hope to him. Your hope and desire, your yearning is for God. I'm going to rejoice in his redemption. What does it mean, his redemption? Okay, because that could be interpreted in many ways. Thank you, Yosef. It helps me when I know you're with me. I put this idea in terms of how you could suffice with ideals, but God says, no, I'm going to make it b'payil. I'm going to make it actually manifest in the world. God's going to do that. God's the one that says, no, it's not enough for you to suffice with just diving into the center. In a sense, I'm going to have small deicha. The left hand parries, or there's an aspect of gvura here where God says, no, let me see you from a little distance. When you see a beautiful painting, what do? You take a step back before greatness and beauty to behold it in its entirety, and it's in context. I spoke about that in the context of inappropriate sight. Before beauty, you take a step back. We learn this from God here in this teaching. Also, I'm sure it appears other places. But what's the redemption then? So I want to say that God sort of forces you, and that's the basula, because it's never been that way. So in the future to come, in the times that are unfolding now before us, these times we're going to see the experience of God now saying it's not enough just for you to have ideals, to just be spiritual like this thing focuses on. That's not enough, because I also have a perspective. I also have a voice in this relationship that I say is going to be a relationship for 7,000 years. It's going to be a relationship. And then the Elf should be absolute unity. We're each, it's the ultimate yin yang, okay? We're going to have both at the same time and forevermore. I said before how that could be, I forget. What does it mean we're going to rejoice in his redemption? He's going to take them out into the state of manifest reality. We're going to see that God completes us. That there's this yin yang, and that's the circle, that's the wheel, that's the arrow, that's the thing. Real simcha means spiritual. The soul is rejoicing, and that's specifically when you're dancing. Then you're not being intellectual, which has the capacity of constricting and containing our thoughts, and we're trapped in the physical when we're only intellectual. That sounds unusual, I know. But through the process of meditation, so you're using your mind to transcend your mind. So that's a whole topic, and yeah, I can't do the whole thing I want to put. I'm not going to nefesh, but it goes saying that the power for this is spiritual. That gives us the power to transcend the coarseness of the physicality that wants to take you away from your ability to see God is the whole meaning of everything. I spoke about that about 3 days ago. So I'm like throwing darts at you when I say that. Is that insulting to say? Just look it up. It's just because my time with you is I cherish, and it's precious to me, and I want to give you everything that really inspired me. I don't want to miss a single coloring book. So when a person dances, he has extra joy because his soul, the power of his soul is full. This is what inspired the olders to dance with the youngers. The old men with the young men, and the young women, specifically the virgins. Everyone is going to reach a state of virginity in the sense that we're going to be innocent again. All the corruption and the dirt and filth that we introduce to things is going to be openly expressed, because our whole direction is going to be towards God. That's what's the purity of it. That's the transcendence of it. And the power to do this comes from joy, dancing. Your soul is in full expression, roaring. So it's a spiritual force that's activated through joy. And that calls the transcendent to define it, which here we call the physical. God says, no, it's going to be physical too, because I love you. Maybe on those words we should stop. I think that's what it's all about. That's it. Let's just finish this off about the film. Oh, I got all kinds of notes here too. I can't read them though. Dancing means to transcend thought. Allah, the idea of a basula. That's the way I interpret it. Out of the physical, in the sense that now it is experiential, which he means by spiritual nefesh. When you're dancing and your nefesh is there, that means you're not trapped in the finite anxiety of thought or even any limitation of ego. Transcending that, that's the basula. That's when we say women don't have minds, they're kalas reish, or they don't have developed minds. We still say bina yisera, they have an aspect of intelligence as more than men. Okay, so we don't mean that they don't have minds. We're translating it to mean in this context. That general idea in this context means they're free. Do you want to be free? Get free from the guys that are telling you around you that you're just saying nonsense. I don't mean like I love the guy who said that. I don't mean get rid of him. I don't want people to misinterpret what I'm saying. I'm saying that voice, shut it off and just see good in it. That's what I mean. That's the dance. V'lo yamar b'lashon acher sheyeh lehem. Ana ma she'amru sheyaseh machal tzadikim. V'lo yamar b'lashon acher sheyeh lehem. Sheyeh lehem rikud. The reason why it says it's going to be a dance, a machal tzadikim, for the righteous, and nothing else, it just specifically says a dance. A rikud uses a different term here. L'hayreis al inin his alo sazeh. To go through joy, to transcend your limitations. That is a circle. That's why you're at the edge of the circle. It's a gvura. You're swinging. David HaMelech swung the rock. He had that image there. It had a center. It's the heliocentric model of the universe. Because that also resonates at some level. It means something that we see the sun as the center of all of it. It means something. Okay, I don't want to confuse you. That was pretty confusing what I just said. So the finger represents going in the middle of the circle. He paints it out. Okay, you could look it up there if you want the original Hebrew. I think I did it in my language. And he talks about the spokes of a wheel clearly. And it goes on, and I didn't really read that part, maybe another time. And now I'm just going to hang out with you for a minute or two. If you want to say something, so happy with a brilliant rabbi like you, that is so sweet. Thank you so much. It really gives me strength to, keep going and do it with all my fire and zeal, even though people tell me, even my father, okay, he told me that it's specifically, and also my father-in-law, specifically my zeal that scares people away. I have a source that says the opposite, so I'm confused. And my answer to that is there's people that can't hear the message that you are going to say, that can hear from somebody else. Everyone has their spokes of their wheel that leads to their circle of their world. Ultimately, we're all going to be interlinked, but that's a process. So if my ideas don't resonate with a certain body of people, that's what the internet brings out, your ability to associate freely with like-minded people. It gives you more power. Power means, remember we said a litmus test of successful leadership, if you have God on your side, is if you're succeeding in your leadership. It's like a circular argument. You're a worthy leader because you're succeeding in leadership. Doesn't that sound circular to you? Isn't all truths, in some sense, a circle? Isn't that the Zen idea? Okay, I don't want to end on Zen after all that. It's a Kabbalistic idea, right? You can make Kabbalah into New Age philosophy. I don't see the point in that when we have Torah. It's so beautiful. Maybe it's just to take it out to the world that we're not necessarily allowed to teach them all ideas of Torah. But maybe in the right context, you are allowed to teach all aspects of Torah. No one's told me it's forbidden to say these things because I'm going to quote Allah. I'm not allowed to teach Gentiles laws that are not applicable to them. No one told me that yet, so there's direction we get from on high, isn't there? Not necessarily always the path of least resistance. This, I would say, is the path of most resistance. But what makes the fish strong? Or the bear that eats the fish when it's swimming against the current and flies out. The bear's there to grab it and eat it. So it goes up the food chain, so everyone wins, right? The fish wanted that in a sense. That's why it was such a strong swimmer, to elevate itself beyond itself. To get the bear, the eineg, the fat. The fish is the intellect. Only Yasin and Sharabar. Sharabar might be its earthiness. It's not necessarily the fat, it's attached to the earth. The Yasin is the hidden world coming out, shooting out over the surface where now you could see it, and it could have an impact on the world, something you could consume. Now the earthiness of the world is something I could consume once you shecht it. Once God makes that Su'udah, right? We're going to have a dance, we're going to have a Su'udah. Here I just talked about the Su'udah, I've spoken about that other times, so put the two together and you'll understand what Mashiach is. A dance and a feast. What can be more beautiful religion than that? Who needs anything else? You don't need to look anywhere else. If I bring it in, I'm sorry God made me this way. He gave me some knowledge. You did it again, my Meshuggah Neshama flew with this dance with Hashem. I think the idea is, I can only say it with so much. Because if I got too much into it, the way it deserves to be gotten into, I think everyone here will be in Vegas. And how are you going to function? How are you going to drive your car when you're listening to that if you're in Vegas? I think everyone should be in Vegas to these ideas. Not necessarily why I say it. Maybe you could say it with your own language. I mean, you have to interpret it anyways through your own language, which is the whole postmodern problem. The deal of language as limitation. We see language as the teva, to go overcome. The tirdas of parnasa, the waters, the flood waters. That it's the same thing as a dance. You're dancing above. You're going into the tevas. The words of tefillah, the davening, of prayer, and learning Torah. You go into that and you rise above the world. That's when you're going to create a new world. Isn't that what Noach did when he went into the table? He created a new world. I think that's a nice thought to stop. I had a point before I should have stopped. It was like a bit cooler, a bit more intense, but I think that this is an important message to I'm glad I spoke longer. And now I have to move on. So have a great day, everyone. Lots of blessings. And so I wanted to finish that idea. You should have dvekus in the ideas. The ideas have to be spoken in your language. That's actually benefit. Once you put it into your dark phoenix, don't be ashamed of it. Don't say I'm ultra-Orthodox and therefore I can't have what I grew up with. Give me a break. What you grew up with is who you are. You can never escape that. Find a holy way to do it, okay? Find it. If people don't like it so much, you take your picture off and it's a dance, like everything else. The right hand embraces, the left hand says, I want to see you from a distance. You're so precious. I want to spend another moment with you. Simchas Torah, right? Another day. Just you and me. To appreciate you for who you are. Let me step back and behold the beauty of a masterpiece.